Hey Austin, this is Scott Slottercheck. We met at Fellows the other night on Wednesday, and I just really want to share with you some of the stuff that I've been learning in economics. I thought that it could be useful for you. Instead of trying to type it over a ridiculously lengthy email, I just figured I'd kind of show you on a piece of paper. I had to invert my camera, so this is going to be maybe a little weird, but I think that you'll be able to get the point. A couple things I just really want to touch on real fast. I think that would kind of help you. Maybe I don't know what kind of scope you really work with, but I know that some of the geographic areas are smaller, and some of the stuff that we talk about in economics classes are scoped for entire countries. But you may be able to kind of scale it down for zip codes or counties or something like that. So the first thing I think that would be cool for you to look at would be something called quintile ratio, and essentially it's like a really fast, quick numeric metric just to kind of see the difference of consumptions. So say you have a country like or maybe you have county. Let's just have a county for example, county A and county B, and then for quintile you look at the top 20%, and then you go down to 40, 60, 80, 100, and basically what you're doing is you're looking at this county's consumption percentage, and so if the top 20 um, consume, for this example, let's say 49.8% of the entire income in that certain county or whatever that wealth is. This would be a way that you look at this, right? So top 20 consumes about 49.8%, and I'm looking off a different example just so I can keep these numbers straight. And then the next tier down consumes 23.4, 14.8, 8.7, and 3.4. And then for this next country, the first country I did this backwards, 53.7, 21.2, 13.3, 8.2, and 3.5. And then really what you do, the formula is just, top 20% over bottom 20%. So you do, for country A, you do 49.8% over 3.4. Country B, you would do 53.7 over 3.5. I haven't done this, which I probably should have, so one sec. 49.8 divided by 3.4. 14.65, about. 53.7 divided by 3.5 equals 15.34. So you can see that country B has a bigger discrepancy with the way that they spend their money, because they have a bigger quintile ratio. So that gap is bigger, right? So if you're looking at this for a county or a state or whatever, what kind of market you're trying to enter into, you would run a quick just ratio and say, okay, well, this one has a bigger difference between the bottom and the top quintiles, and so this would maybe be a bigger opportunity for improvement with whatever means you're trying to get into that market. So that's the first thing, quintile ratios. I thought would be a real fast metric for you to use. A second way for you to do this is just a little more complicated, but not any big deal at all. Is let me get this camera right. Is what I taught to you actually on Wednesday, which is the poverty gap index. Let's see if this is right. Poverty gap index. And so this is kind of looking at what percentage you would need a population to be taxed at in order to get the entire population to zero poverty. So the first thing that you need to identify is a poverty line measured by a dollar value. So you'd use a bundle of how much money they spend on groceries versus rent versus car insurance and all these different kinds of things that you could look at and say, okay, the poverty line, let's see, if you make below, let's just say, $125,000, or no, sorry, if you make less than, sure, let's just go with that, $125,000 a year, you're below the poverty, right? Like obviously, we're in California in some way. So you could look at different countries. Let's just recognize them again as A and B, and then personal individuals and their incomes per year. So individual 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so if they make below $125,000 a year, they're below the poverty line. So for this example that we've got, we'll do 99,000, 101, 150, and 150. 79, 121, 150, 150. So the way that you do this is basically just percent change of each individual that's below the poverty line. So these two individuals, 3 and 4, are not below the poverty line, but you still include them in this calculation that we're about to do. So the way you do it is the formula is poverty line minus the income over poverty line. So we're just going to stick to this general equation for this. So 125 for this individual who is below the poverty line, as well as number 2, over 125. And then plus 125 minus the 101, right, because we're using these numbers right here first, over 125, plus 0, because these people are not included because they make too much money. They're fine. So the percent change, what you're getting is 26 over 125 plus 24 over 125. That equals 0.208 plus 0.192 equals 0.4 over 4. And this is the number of people in the population. So I guess you would do this number over number of population, which is 0.1 or 10%. So make sure I'm still on the page. So 10%, right? For the second person, you do basically the same thing. You do this. So this is for county A. This is for county B. Bear with me on the orientation of this stuff. 125 minus 79. Right, we're taking this number again right here. Over 125, 125 over 121, 125 plus 0 plus 0. Basically, just to save us some math, it's 0.368 plus 0.032 plus 0 plus 0. Again, that's 0.4 over 4 people, so that's 10% again. So essentially, for the case, if you were presenting this to the board of directors or whatever, you'd say, okay, well, county A and B had the exact same kind of differentiation of the poverty gap. If you were to look at head count, you'd say, oh, well, yeah, half these people are poor, but the head count index, that's what it's called, right? So only 2 out of 4 are below the poverty, but the poverty gap index looks at the actual depth of that poverty. So if you were looking at this right off the bat, you'd say, okay, maybe you'd say county B is at a bigger disadvantage because it's got that 79 that's so severe, but country A is better off because they're more maybe along the means of 100. But this just gives you a real objective way to say, okay, well, the depth of this poverty is a lot more severe than just saying half of them are above, half of them are below. It doesn't really matter, and it really does matter. Whenever number is bigger, right, 10%, in this case they're both, because this is a class example, you want us to see what's going on. 10% of the people would need to give their income to the less popular, to the less fortunate. You could use this for your lobbying in Congress if you were able to kind of move the needle on taxation. But But anyway, so I thought that you're doing a lot of good stuff, Austin, and I just want to share some of the stuff. I know that once I get out into the real world, it's going to be very difficult for me to come across some of these more academia type ideas, and I wanted to transcend them to you because I know that it possibly could help you in whatever new areas you're trying to help. So anyway, I hope you got some stuff. If you feel the need, please contact me. I'll go ahead and include this stuff in my email. And of course, you've got any kind of right to use this knowledge. I don't mind you asking me more things or using it for your help. So or your advantage. So anyway, with that, I appreciate it and take care, Austin. Bye bye.